Welcome, fellow Stardust. Are you ready for a scare? Today, we'll be chatting with filmmaker Ryan Kruger, writer-director of Fried Berry and Street Trash. If you're new here, my name is DeRay, aka Rainbow Fright, lover of all things dark, creepy, and weird. You ready? Buckle up.
All right, so Ryan, before we begin, as a huge fan of Fried Berry and now a fan of your sophomore film, Street Trash, I just want to say thank you again for taking the time to chat with me today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my absolute honor. And Stardust, if you haven't seen Ryan's movie just yet, you can find it now on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Fandango at Home, and it'll soon be on Screenbox. Now, I hadn't seen Street Trash when I learned that you were making the new Street Trash, but it had been on my watch list for quite some time, and the original movie is part of a subgenre called melt movies, which includes movies like The Blob, Body Melt, Society, The Stuff, and so many more of my favorite body horror films. Some modern examples would be Mandy, Possessor, and The Substance. And with your new film, you gave us another splatterfest and really paid homage to the original movie and as well as 80s film in general in so many ways. So tell us, how did you become attached to this project, and is it a subgenre that you've always been attracted to?
Yeah, I think, growing up as a kid in the 80s and early 90s, it was one of those, I loved horror films and I loved prosthetics and gore, and the more gore and prosthetics and the gross and gruesome it was, the more I loved it. It was one of those things, again, going into the video shop as a kid and just looking at these front covers and going, that looks amazing. I don't even know what it's about, but it looks so good. I just want to, can we get this? So, I was always a fan of these types of movies, and it was such a massive part of my childhood, going to a video shop or chilling with my friends on a weekend and watching it, or sitting in my little room with my little TV and just watching all these films. I got this movie originally because of Fried Berry. Fried Berry was, as you know, it was playing at the Joe Bob's Last Drive-In, and while it was premiering, a lot of people were saying this guy would be a great fit to do Street Trash. And I remember hearing it when it was screening. Everybody was on Twitter and everybody's talking about it, but I never thought anything like of it. Just on the producers, they had the rights to the film for many, many years, and they were looking for the right fit. And then obviously once they watched Fried Berry, they were like, this is the right fit. So they approached me, and obviously I knew what Street Trash was. I was a fan of that film, and I had it on VHS as a kid. So it was obviously straight away I'll be like, oh my God, yeah, let's do it. And obviously my first big thing was to do something different than the original and have my own stamp on it and make it more of a loose sequel, as I said. But making a Street Trash movie, it's one of those things where you got to look at what those fans originally loved. And as a fan myself, it's I was like, fuck, I was a fan of the movie, so it's just so crazy that I ended up doing this film. But it's like, you look at the film and it's like, you've got to have the multicolored goo. Like, that is the big DNA of Street Trash. And the fact that it's in the 80s, the fact that it's about the homeless, but having all that prosthetics and gore. So I would say the prosthetics and gore and the homeless and the multicolored goo, that is the big thing about Street Trash. So I took those things, and my biggest thing was I wanted to have more gore, more prosthetics than the original. And what was very important to me is to have that strong narrative story and have characters that you like and enjoy and want to go on this journey with.
Now, if you're really desperate, you can try it in fucking Rex. This place is great because it's crawling with the fuckers. Coming in and out all day, shitting on the frozen goods, pissing in the rice.
So I did really love the direction you went with this as far as making it a loose sequel. You know, even though you set out to make it different from the original, I thought it was smart, though, to start out the film, like the third or fourth scene with that chase scene that we get in the original.
Yeah, it's important to, out of respect for the original as well, it's, you know, it's important to give those nods and that, you know, homage to the original and that respect to the original. Because again, I'm a fan of the original, and you know, it's nice to have those little nods. So if you're a fan, you know, there's the little bits here and there within the film that give those nods. So if you're a good fan, you'll pick it up.
Totally. And even though I recently became a fan of the original film, that junkyard location has quickly become an iconic location in my brain. And so when we got to the introductory shot of the junkyard in the new film, my eyes just lit up. And I was just so excited to see that. I really appreciated all the colors that were used. Where is that dump located in South Africa, and how much of it was CGI, and were there some locations in this new film that you also used in Fried Berry?
There was one visual effect shot in the chase scene while he's running down the road, and we have all the cars piled on top of each other, you know, that. So my visual effects guy did that, which he did an amazing job. Like, it's crazy. That road looked completely different. It didn't look like that whatsoever. So that visual effects, I mean, it looks fucking real. Like, it looks. I'm pretty sure people will watch it in South Africa and we go, "Hey, where's that location? Like, we can't find it anywhere." Like, where is it? So I'm pretty sure they'll ask that. In Fried Barry, you know, there was the when we had the chainsaw guy and everything in those scenes in Fried Barry, we did use some of the same location. We did shoot a lot of the film in this massive abattoir building, old building. So we did a lot of filming there, and then we also went on location to a real scrapyard for certain scenes and stuff like that, just to keep that vibe going where, you know, where the home is for these homeless people.
Very cool. Love that. All right. So with the original, it doesn't necessarily have a protagonist or antagonist. Arguably, you could say that Bronson could be seen as an antagonist, but it's easy to sympathize with him. And he's also a victim of his circumstances, like the rest of the homeless or veterans in that movie. The expired Viper liquor they drink that melts them into the colorful puddles of goo is not purposely being distributed to them, but instead by accident by a local liquor store owner who also is killed by this liquid poison. The Junkyard brothers, Freddie and Kevin, can't really be categorized as protagonists because they lack heroic qualities and their storyline isn't crucial to the narrative. On the other hand, with your movie, you switch things up a bit and have created a character-driven story with a lot of heart and soul. And you've brought back some characters from Fried Berry, including Gary Green himself as Two-Bit with his imaginary friend Sokol. Can you tell us a bit about these characters you've created and the inspiration behind them?
Yeah, for me, again, it was super important to, like, if you look at the original, and again, nothing wrong with the original, it's that certain time in the 80s, and it is what the film is, and you know, I love what it is. But you know, there wasn't any like really likable characters in the original, in the sense of like they're all like fucking horrible people. A lot of them, you know what I mean? Like, they weren't like, you know, relatable or nice sort of characters. So again, it was important for me to have these bunch of misfits, rejects of homeless people that you follow, but is fun. And you know, they were all very, very different. You know, you have Ronald, who's this like father of the group that like gets everybody together. You know, he used to be in the army and he's running the show. That was played by Sean Cameron Michael. Then you've got Chef, which is almost like the mother of the family. He's the cook. He keeps everybody fed. And then you've got the comical relief with Pap and Voss. And then you've got Alex, which is the new member that's coming in, and they're showing them the ropes to her. And then obviously you got the weirdo Two-Bit and his a friend, Sokol. So
who's right behind you. I just noticed that was Sokol behind you, actually. It's so cute.
Right next to a picture of me and my mom, like right there.
Oh.
So,
Love it.
It's he's a part of the family now. But so I think it's just it was a nice balance to have all these different characters. So there's something in it for everybody, with these characters. And again, strong characters. And that you reach for and that you want to go on this journey with. I mean, the rich is the rich, which is the government. The poor is the homeless, and there is no middle class. There's a lot of social commentary as well in this movie that is layered throughout the movie. Some people will get it, and some people might go over the head. It is a fucking melt movie. I'm not trying to fucking win an Oscar with it. It's a fun fucking movie. But, it's one of those things where, I like to put that layers within the script. Again, back in the 80s, there was a lot of homeless people. And like right now in the world, even before the pandemic, it's a bit out of control, but now it's even fucking more out of control. So, yes. I really wanted to put that out there, but also with government. Also, I think we can all relate to during fucking COVID that nobody really fucking talks about anymore, but it's one of those things where everybody just wants it forgotten. When you think back at it now, like it's fucking nuts. So I think there's a lot of relative stuff in this film that people can, relate to and the problems that we have today.
I loved how Ronald comes back in this movie from Fried Berry, and he sort of goes through another rampage like he did at the mental health facility in Fried Berry. It's a little bit more real. And then with Gary Green's character, Two-Bit, he's just lovable in a weird way, and his imaginary about a second ago, Sokol is hilarious. He actually reminds me of Milo, the butt creature from Bad Milo. One of my favorite movies. I think they would be just such good friends. And then with Chef, I can't help but think of Guy Lapointe from Tusk, so good, as well as Mr. Steinbrenner from Seinfeld, George's boss when he's over at the Yankees, the guy whose face we never see. The way that he sounded very similar. And so I absolutely enjoyed also his little side stories, Chefs, about our favorite fairy tales, the dark side of our favorite fairy tales, like Peter Pan and Pinocchio. It added a bit of humor that I just really appreciated.
That's cool. Yeah, I love writing stuff like that. Those little stories like that, I fucking love writing. Stuff like that. I think that's where I have the most fun, just doing those little rant monologues. Working with Sean Cameron Michael that played Ronald. It was awesome to work with Sean. Sean is a very, very, very good friend of mine, and we've worked together for many years. Obviously, he was in Fried Barry as well, playing the same character. But he's a fucking superb actor, and he's one of our best. I would say he's one of our best. He is our best South African actor. He does a lot of overseas stuff, but and he's back and forth from LA. But he's such a great actor, and I love working with him. And Joe Vaz that played Chef again, also a very close friend of mine. And I've always wanted to do a feature with both of these guys together as leads. So it was so awesome that we had this thing that we could do this thing together. And then when it comes to Two-Bit, Gary Green, it wouldn't be right not to have Gary in this movie. He's so perfect to be in this movie. Again, working with Gary, I've got to jump through some hoops to get exactly what I want for him to shine, but we get there in the end. And Sokol came out of just a really cool idea for like a support boat for his character that will complement his character and will complement Sokol just as this little duo, little team. So that was awesome. But all of them, even Pap and Vos, they were great, funny characters.
Okay, 10 points and go.
Fanny, Minky, Foo Fever, JJ, Bean, Minnie, Ellen, Flower, Fandango.
And with these characters that we love and care about, there is no chance of any misogynistic sexual violence in this movie, which I just so appreciate. Yes, the 80s were different.
It's a bit hardcore. That was a bit hardcore. It's a little bit fucking hardcore.
Yes. So yeah, it was a huge relief to see that this didn't involve any of that. And so because we get a clear, antagonists and protagonists in this new movie, we get a really fun third act with a heist setup and a huge fight scene reminiscent of the ending of Toxic Avenger, which I really appreciated. That third act, I just love how everything just ramps up. My favorite part.
Yeah, and that's why I think it still has the inappropriate stuff, like from Sokol. He'll like fuck anybody. He's just fucking horny. He's just this horny little alien that just wants to fuck. And so I mean, there was no need to like revisit that. I mean, in the original, that was like, listen, the people that love the original, the main thing was the melts. That was the thing. It was a certain time in New York as well, with the locations and stuff and everything. But that big thing was it was the melts. That's if the original Street Trash didn't have the melts, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be the same fucking movie.
Yeah. So with that, let's get into these amazing special effects and effects makeup. The filmmakers of the original film decided to use a rainbow of colors in place of red blood. And this was done to amplify the movie's absurdity and differentiate itself from the other blood-soaked movies coming out during that time. And because it was a low-budget movie, this was also a cost-effective way to be memorable to audiences. And in your film, thankfully, you utilize rainbow blood as well, and with the addition of these beautiful liquid sacks that gloriously pop when victims are scratching at them. We even get a rainbow squirt after a decapitation. Can you tell us more about those decisions and the process of creating all of these effects?
Yeah, I think the true DNA of Street Trash is that multicolored goo. Is that rainbow multicolored goo. That obviously that's a massive, massive part of the original. Somebody that hasn't seen Street Trash, or somebody that might randomly just watch this Street Trash and see this multicolored goo, they'll be like, what the fuck is this? Why isn't it blood? Like, why the fuck, it like doesn't make sense unless you know what the fuck Street Trash is and obviously watch the movie. But so that was a big part that we had to do and that we wanted to do. Coming up with all the ideas for all the melts, it was, obviously that came in very early, writing the script. And then, when it came to pre-production, it's sitting down with Adrian Smith from Creations and his team and going through those ideas and adding ideas on top of that, or scrapping certain ideas and go, oh, let's do this or let's do that. So it was a whole process. And obviously they had to make those prosthetics and we had to plan to do those things. And then, when it came to shooting, it's a very, it's a big process. It takes time. We also shot this movie on 35 millimeter and, we're shooting with 2 cameras. So every time we do major action sequences or major melts, we're shooting with 2 cameras, whether we're concentrating on the neck or the ankle snapping or something inflating or popping or oozing out. It's all those, getting all those moments. And sometimes it takes, a lot of time to film one part and then we've got it. And then, okay, let's move on to the next part. And then we capture that, or sometimes it didn't work as well. So then we have to reset the prosthetic and we have to start all over again. But obviously there was a lot of great prosthetics and, a lot of these actors had to be like 10 hours in makeup or even longer, just being on set and waiting for, how it is on the film, and they're just like waiting. And then we get to the part and then it's that process of breaking it down and each angle and stuff. And we were actually shooting in winter. So it was, it was fucking cold. So we had all these actors, whether it's like tubes coming on the side of the mouth or by the nose or eyes or, underneath the latex and prosthetics. So, once we do a shot, everything's, all oozing out and everything. But then as soon as you've done that first shot, then the actor starts, they're really cold and it was freezing. And whether they're on the floor or whatever, like if you were doing it during the day, you were lucky. At least the sun was out. But if you were doing it at night as an actor, it was fucking freezing cold. And, I remember quite a few times lying down on the concrete with the actors going, it's all right. We're nearly done. We've only got 8 shots left. Or, you know what I mean? Yeah, they were super happy going, yeah, it would be amazing. Yeah, I'm well up for like a fucking kill scene, and you can gruesome kill. And then while they were doing it, they're like, you could see they were just like giving up with life and shit. And they were like, I don't want to be doing this anymore. And I'm like, it's all right, we're going to get through this. And then eventually, we finished shooting, and then they were like happy to get a shower and to get out of all that goo, because even after like I said, after the first take, you've also got these pipes. Some of the pipes are meant to like come out and squirt out, which they do, but then you also get some of them that just like decide to like just let it loose down. And just drip down your whole body while it's freezing. So yeah, there was.
It might have been better to shoot when it was cold versus shooting when it was too hot, I would imagine. I think I'd prefer goo in the cold versus the hot.
Yeah, midway. You want a half. You want a half.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a big process, but also super fun to watch. I always say if I didn't do acting and directing, I probably would have got into prosthetics and animatronics and stuff like that. So working with the guys and watching them do what they do, it was awesome. And just seeing faces melt off and come off and seeing skeletons. And it was just like, going back again to like that cool 80s stuff that I grew up with. And there's not enough films out there today that has all that. It's always mixed with visual effects, which is like, it's like 50% visual effects, or 50, probably more visual effects, to be honest, like 80% visual effects and then 20% prosthetics. And then the prosthetics is really cool, but it's cut so fast that you can't even see it. So the great thing about this film is like those 80s films where it's in camera, we're watching it, we're not moving away, and we're staying on these gory effects, and we're just watching it happen, which is awesome. And I think right now in the genre scene and horror stuff that's coming out, it's great to be a part of this like new wave of, and it was just like in the 80s, there was that whole wave of like horror films, and I really feel there's a couple of us that are starting to. There's definitely a wave going on right now with these melt movies and stuff like that, and I think it's coming back in a weird fucking way, which is really cool. It's really cool seeing that prosthetics.
And you kind of touched on this it here a second ago, but just like the OG, you were able to shoot this on film, and it is absolutely beautiful. The cinematography in the 80s film stands out from the rest of the splatter movies and horror movies in general because of the cinematography done by David Sperling, and especially because of the use of the Steadicam, which was operated by J. Michael Murrow, the writer-director of the original film, who would go on to shoot Crash, Roll Bounce, and Rush Hour 3. That grittiness, Steadicam work, and carefully done handheld shots all transferred over to your movie as well. And even though it's very clear that we were set in the future in 2050 in your film, because we see the advancements in technology and the state of the country and all of that, but it still feels like we are watching a movie straight out of the 80s. It's almost got a grindhouse feel because of that. Can you tell us a bit about how the decision was made to shoot on film and what that was like?
Yeah, originally I thought we were going to shoot this film digitally originally, and at that very early stage. And then, the producer said, "Would you like to shoot this on film?" I literally thought they were like joking. I was like, "Why the fuck would we shoot this on film?" Because hardly anybody shoots on film. So I said, "Really?" And I was like, "Fuck, I'd love to shoot 35." And they were like, "Cool, let's do that." And I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah,
that's cool. I never thought I would ever shoot a movie on 35, so it was fucking awesome shooting on 35. And after that conversation, the longer it sat with me, the more I didn't want to shoot it on film. Only obviously, I 100% want to shoot it on film. Don't get me wrong, I 100% want it. But the longer I sat with it, I just thought, what if it doesn't come out? What if we shoot this and then we process it and it doesn't come out? What if, and I was constantly, why don't we film with the digital camera on the side just in case? And, I was thinking of all these things because I was just thinking obviously I don't want anything to go wrong. Obviously I want to shoot on film, but it's like, luckily, now there is a few people shooting on film here and there, and it's still obviously very rare, unless you're fucking Tarantino and, Nolan or whatever, that's, shooting all these films on film. Yeah. But again, it's like with anything, when you're doing anything, you get the right team. So I got the right DP that shoots on film. I got the right camera loader. We got all the right people on board. And the crazy thing is, we haven't got telecine for developing in South Africa anymore. We used to, but we don't have it anymore. So we would shoot 3 or 4 days, and then we would send the footage to England, and then England would process it and digitally send it back to us. So we had no idea what the fuck we shot, basically, until we got that footage back. And then we were like, okay, cool. This looks amazing. Fuck, we're definitely onto something here. This looks fucking great. But it would just take us a few days, to get it back, which was normally, back in the day, it was like you watch the dailies, you would watch the footage the same fucking day and go, cool, we need this, or we need to pick up this and that. So we just had a great team, and everything just seemed to work and everything. And what was interesting again about shooting on film was there was, when you're shooting digitally, I think everybody knows you can take another shot. Everybody knows, like, okay, we can just do another shot. And there's always people going, when people are shooting. But when we shot on film, it was one of those things where everybody there was just this respect that, the actors were on their A game, the crew were on their A game, and we rehearsed and then we shot. And it was just this respect for film that we didn't keep on taking take after take after take or anything like that. And luckily, me as a director, I always shoot for the edit, so I never overshoot. I shoot what I know what's going to cut together. I shoot, I don't waste time doing shit that I know I'm not going to use. I think directors that overcover a scene, it's like they're not, they're scared in case they don't have everything, so they just fucking cover everything. But I always know what's going to cut,
wasting money,
going to work. So and then again, like you said, so it's a waste of money, and it's you don't want to keep reshooting stuff. So obviously, if I wanted to take another take, we would do another take. But I didn't overshoot, so I think I was right to shoot this on film and not overshoot. And then the other very interesting thing that you see, I shot on film like about 10 years ago or more, and it was 16 or 8. I think it was 16 millimeter, 8 millimeter years ago on 2 short films. And we didn't have a playback screen. So with this, we had a playback screen, which is digital playback screen. So you're watching. It's like the worst quality. Like you're watching this playback, but it's like the worst quality. And if it's during the day, it's all right. But if it's at night, you can't even like look at what like the eye line is unless it's like super lit. It's like you can't fucking see shit. So you just looking, going, okay, is he looking this way, or is he is it the right eye line? So you can't see shit. And then what I realized as a kid watching like 80s films, I always, I used to love all these like B movies, again, all these gore movies and all these films. And I would always notice like mistakes. I'm like, how the fuck did they not know that? Or how you can see the guy's arm, or this is, you can see this, you can see that. And what I realized while I was shooting was, some of these people, didn't maybe have the money at the time to watch the daily straight away, or didn't have the budget to go back and shoot, like pick up scenes or whatever, or they would try and hide it. And what I realized from this playback, from the playback at night and stuff, because you can't see shit, you don't know what's in frame and what's out of frame. So everything has to be completely. And that's why those mistakes were there, where there's like a camera dude in the background or something, because when you're looking at a monitor, you couldn't see, you literally couldn't see. So I thought that was really interesting. Just looking at that playback machine and realizing this is why there was mistakes in all those like fucking 80s films, because they couldn't see shit on this playback. And I thought that was really interesting.
Well, I didn't see any in yours, so you did a good job, even though you had shitty playback. Or I missed
I think we hid one light. I think,
Okay.
on the side, I think we hid like one light.
Well, yes, it's very cool that you got to shoot on film because, yeah, it just brings that nostalgia back. And the music also really added to creating the beloved era, the 80s, along with the sound in general, especially when it came to the dialogue. It sounded like I was watching a movie from the 80s. It just felt warm and cozy. And so with that, how did you come to the decision to break the fourth wall throughout the movie?
It was just another cool, like little quirky idea, to have that Offley character, which was the audience, or this character that is in the gang, which is like meant to be the audience, or we're just going along with this journey. So he's there every now and then, and he's watching, and he's just this silent character that does, everything's like thumbs up or okay, let's go. And I just thought it was a really cool thing. And it's so nice that, a lot of people have brought up that character and enjoy that, I guess, that quirkiness or that randomness of that. And I love doing those like little things, and I think that's what makes something, your work interesting or different, or just, it's just adding those layers, it's adding those little things that you don't see or something like that. And I think it was just fun. And again, there's a lot of same characters in Fried Barry and Street Trash and other films that I've made where there's a lot of connections with everything. And, there's a reason why I put certain things in certain films, because down the line, there's another film that I've got where the POV Offley character is in a movie where you can see him and he's one of the characters, but he has those gloves on. You know what I mean? So it's very important for me to layer all those things in movies,
And Offley is you, right? You play Offley, even though we don't see your
The only reason why I played Offley was just because we didn't have to hire another fucking actor. Like up there. And it's just the gloves. I just got to do this and that. So it was literally like a fucking no-brainer. I was like, what's the point of hiring somebody to do that one? I can just stand in front of the camera and do that. And then for Sokol doing the voice, I think it was just a thing at the time where I'm just like, I thought it would just be like a fun thing. And then the other character, Reggie, that was in it. We actually had, there was actually another. Originally, I wasn't meant to do that character at all. I had to literally jump in and do it because we already started filming, and we had an actor that was meant to come from Canada, and then he didn't end up making the flight, and he didn't end up coming. So because of that, luckily I fitted into the wardrobe, and we were already in production, so it was too late to look for anybody else. So I just cut that character down a lot more, took a lot of his dialogue out, and we just put him in less scenes and less talking. And but I think there's two scenes there that I did have some dialogue, which I think we probably should have kept, because we go on about like Stanley Kubrick and some of these things, but you'll see it on the Blu-ray and Vinegar Syndrome deleted scenes and stuff.
Hell yeah.
Okay. But yeah. But it was fun. It was fun doing all that, and it was great working with all my friends. And as always, I think people that watch my film, especially Fried Barry, and with this film, I think you can see that we had an awesome time. We had so much fun making this film, and there's nothing better than making films with all your friends and having fun and getting to work together.
That's right. Well, is horror comedy a genre you think you want to create more films in, or do you want to get darker or lighter in your future projects?
No, definitely. This is the thing. I don't want to get boxed in. Like, I like, when I look at stuff, you can say horror, comedy horror. It's like Fried Barry. Like, Fried Barry is like, it's not, when you think about it, it's not a horror film, but it definitely has horror fucking elements, and the horror crowd love these type of films. So yes, it's wacky and crazy and has those horror elements, and it has that dark sense of humor and comedy. but it's not like it's not like your teen comedy, obviously, or anything like that. But again, with Street Trash, I think Street Trash has opened up, a little bit more to a wider audience than Fried Barry. But again, it's still, I always find humor in serious like situations, and it's it's funny I love characters, so I love having this like comedy elements, but seriousness. Like when it's serious, it's serious. When it's funny, it's funny, and when it's gross, it's gross. So I like having those things, but again, I don't want to get boxed in. So at the same time, I have other scripts where it's dead fucking serious, and there's no comedy in there. So because Fried Barry and Street Trash, they might have gross things in it, but it's not like a jump scare movie. It's not like you're petrified or anything like that, So that's why, there is those other films that I want to do and have that. But I'm also just, as a director, it depends what pops up. It depends which script, that comes out. So I just don't want to get boxed in. And I do love all genres. Obviously, I like the darker side of life, of certain like concepts and shit. But it all depends what film happens and what. Like even now, I've got 3 days left of shooting this other film that I've done. I've only got 3 days left, and I've shot it every now and then. And it's totally different than Street Trash. It's totally different than Fried Barry. It does have like horror elements, but it's a completely different film. It's about this weirdo Gary Green that wants to be an actor, but he's fucking shit. And it's not a biopic, I promise. And and then he goes full what's the word? Method actor, and goes fucking crazy, and he starts fucking killing people. It sounds like a comedy now. It's not a comedy.
Okay.
It's a dead fucking serious film. But at the same time, I've worked very hard at this film, and Gary is the lead in it. And I have to admit, there is people are going to see a different side of Gary in this film, which is really cool.
Can't wait to see that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's a black and white, like fucking art house film, but it's very different. But I'm looking forward to editing the film, and then probably sometime next year taking it to festivals.
Hell yeah, sounds awesome. Well, very good. Well, would you like to tell our fellow Stardust where they can find you on social media, or where online?
So if you want to check my work out, RyanKruger.tv. Or go to Facebook, Ryan Kruger official page, on Twitter and Instagram, Ryan Kruger thing. Check out Street Trash. It's on Fandango. It's on Amazon. It's on Apple. It's going to Screenbox next month, which is only a few days away. I don't know what date next month, but it's going to Screenbox next month. And we have the hard release Blu-ray January with Vinegar Syndrome, and also in February it will start to release around the world.
Awesome. Well, wonderful. And thank you again for joining me today, Ryan. I truly appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. Yes. Well, all right, fellow Stardust, if you're looking for something a little different, yet familiar at the same time, this is the new release for you. Thank A Greasy Strangler, Shaun of the Dead, Sith, Evil Dead, and so many more. And let us know what you think of it on Letterboxd. And until next time, Stardust, peace.